I think the millennial generation is the next great generation, if they play their cards right. And I think there's enough great people in that generation to help lead a new direction for it. And I think technology allows them to connect in new ways, but technology unfortunately also pits them against other people, because if you've seen The Social Dilemma, you know there are people manipulating your brain and your biochemistry and your dopamine right now.
Entrepreneurs tend to be high in openness and lower in conscientiousness, so they're creative, but they're also willing to break rules, which you kind of have to do often. Hopefully not to a criminal extent, but you have to. Well, it's tricky when you're trying to establish something new, because look at a company like Uber, they had to bend the rules to be successful. And those companies that have rented those scooters out and put them on the streets everywhere, you have to have a rule-breaking proclivity in order to manage that.
Imagination is infinite, knowledge is limited. What my rich dad taught me, because I teach entrepreneurship. I don't teach job security or 401k. I mean, if that's what you want, have a good life. It's not where I want to operate, because I think the future lies in your imagination. So when I talk to people, what does an entrepreneur do? An entrepreneur builds a product that's smarter and better than they are.
Your brain is like a supercomputer, and your self-talk is a program it will run. So if you tell yourself you're not good at remembering names, you will not remember the name of the next person you meet, because you programmed your supercomputer not to. Isn't that interesting? What I always tell people is this: you have to monitor your self-talk. If you go around tell people, oh, I have a horrible memory, I'm not smart enough, I'm getting too old, fill in the blank. First of all, if you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them.
If I had 60 seconds, I would tell them that stop looking for steps. Stop looking for things that say 5 steps to winning, 10 steps to greatness, 8 steps to success. Those steps are infinite. Find your own path to winning.
Bravery is a skill. It doesn't show up one day. It shows up after 10,000 hours of... We don't think about that.
Right.
Bravery, confidence, all of those internal things. Being loving is a skill. You don't just get it, you earn it. And yeah, I wear my scars on my sleeve, because everything I've earned, whether it's the character I have, and I'm not saying it's so special, but the character I have, the thinking I have, the energy I have, the bravery I have, the love that I have. Love is a very powerful word. That has been very, very, very hard earned.
Some of us teenagers go to church on Sunday, but then tease people at school and gossip on Monday. And we gotta understand that the relationship with God is so beautiful, and it's a sanctified, holy relationship and friendship with not just an idea or a ritual or an identity, but it's a relationship with Jesus. It's praying, it's spending time with God.
Lesson number 1 is the rich don't work for money. We work for assets, and those assets I own and control. I get my cash flow from my assets. I have no stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. My assets produce money.
As someone who is financially rich as an owner, they're not a consumer. They're a consumer also. But when somebody is poor, they're a consumer. That all they do is they take I always tell people we're all financial traders. And people say, I'm not a financial trader. Yes, you are. You're trading time for money. Yeah. That's the worst trade you can ever make in your life.
I can give you just one example. I know a fair number of extremely wealthy people, and most of the people I happen to know are people who've made their money themselves. And I tell you, man, they have a burden of responsibility that would crush me, would crush the typical person. They're just working flat out, like 90 hours a week.
Is the world in a broken state? Because nations, companies, economies are just run by a bunch of people. And if we don't have our quote-unquote leaders coming from a place of true power, coming from a place of true strength, coming from owning their internal genius, coming from living their values, coming from saying, I'm going to use my life in this position I've been given to serve the world, and doing what's right versus what's easy, we're going to have broken economies, broken countries, and a broken world.
People aren't going to the doctors to get checked out when they would have memory lapses if they didn't see that on GPS. Like if they didn't have the GPS, they would have memory lapses and they would go get checked out, and we're not getting that early detection on it just because of that. So how do you keep your brain active? So smart devices could be extremely convenient, but they could be crippling also. So it could be a balance.
And if humans lose the ability to give attention,
then they lose the ability to be creative. If they lose the ability to be creative, they lose the ability even to solve their problems, because the problems that they have created, it requires wisdom and true creativity to solve those problems.
Subscribe now.